How to create a cinematic low-key look. Hello everybody, my name is Marco Bagnoli, I'm a cinematographer, and today I'm going to show you a Puma commercial where they shot this very dark, dramatic scenes. In this video I'm going to show you how you can get a similar look, what lights to use, and how you should overall set your image up, get this look. So this is the first shot we're going to look at, and a lot of people love to shoot these kinds of videos where we have someone doing a sport mixed with some car scenes or something like that. It's the best thing for cinematographer because now we're only going for look, action, dramatic pictures. Cool. But how we do something like this? First things first, what do we have? What's the setup? We set always the first thing you do is set up your camera and choose your composition. This is the first thing you do. You don't start throwing lights here, doing this. No. You go in, say, this is the frame, put your camera down, let's check the monitor, and then you go. Sure, you can tell your gaffer and everyone else, this is probably what we are doing, but have an image. Believe me, it will help everything. Everything goes faster the second your camera is already on there. So how do we get this moody look? First thing is now you throw in your NDs because you want to keep these highlights as good as possible. But you only can keep these highlights, as you can actually see here is a lot of clipping, but they dimmed it down in post, but it doesn't matter, it doesn't feel clipped. To get this look, you need curtains. Curtains are actually a very important tool for that because it diffuses everything a little bit and it attends the light of the window a little bit. The outside looks most of the time very unappealing and not clean, so you try to blur it a little bit away because the focus should be on her. So this is a natural blur which have multiple usage because, like I said before, it diffuses the light. It makes our practical area when we call the window practical a little bit bigger, and it is our main light source. And curtains always look good with another curtains in front of them which have a color. And these type of sport commercials also we have so often orange teal. When you look at it, everything is orange teal because we have like orange skin tone. We try to put on this blue sheets, blue wall. The reason for it, the person pops more because it's the direct opposite of skin color is blue, so we appear more on the image. And your best friend is not having a white wall, and your second best friend is covering this wall with a lot of stuff. This is essential. When you start looking at commercials, the floor, sometimes here it's pretty clean, but most of the time walls are full with stuff. And the reason for it is we need visual interest. Cameras love visual interest. I promise you, nothing will look unclean just because you have a lot of it. Having a clean picture, even when you want to have this moody, dramatic feeling, looks boring. So add everything that you have that fits a little bit the scenery, and then you are done. So how do we light now the scene? There's several ways how we can do it. As you can see, she's pretty half lit, and the key light is coming from the window because that's the only way where the light is coming from. So you don't have to think as a cinematographer. When you know she lays there, there's the window, there should the key light come from. So there are several ways how you can do it. When you're in the first floor, so you're on ground level, you can throw in a light here and just blast the light into the room and it's done. Problem is, imagine you are in the 5th floor, so you cannot put a light in there. There are several ways how you can dribble it. When this is the wall, here's the window, here's your light. There's something like CLS mirrors or mirrors in general, where you can just jank up mirror and then use a light with a Fresnel mount, very pointy, and blast it from the ground there. And the mirror will reflect the light back into the scenery. But that's very hard light, works nice most of the time, but then diffusion is not that nice. That's why you need this CLS reflector, but it didn't work a lot of them, so I can't recommend you a lot of this way. Just imagine we are on ground level. So first thing you can also do is using, cat poles or wall breakers. These are long pipes where you can mount in between walls, and now we can fit our lights on there. So a cat pole is very fragile, so we cannot put crazy lights here, but something like an F22 or 2 F22 should be possible because you can just put them out of frame. They're very narrow and give her a nice key from the side. There should be enough. The second options or third option is a wall breaker. It's a lot more sturdy, where you can put a lot heavier lights on it, but the problem with it damages the set most of the time a little bit, so only use them on scenarios where the walls are not important, and it's okay when they got stretches or something like that. Then what's the most important part is not here giving the key light, but this at the wall. Always light the walls in the background also, because when you only light her, it looks boring, it looks lit. So, and because we have this curtain texture, there's probably just the light outside blasting into the room to get this nice texture right here. And for post-production, keep your levels down. Also, big vignette. Vignettes are crazy in these types of commercials, and where you darken every corner so the focus is even more on the center. Don't try to light and expose perfect. I'm going for a close-up to describe it. So now we're looking at a close-up, and if you look at her skin, she is totally not an exposure, what we call exposure. What I hate when people use, I don't hate it when they use, everyone should use what they want, but I hate to use a false color with the airy settings, because the only thing you see is what's clipping on the brighter side, on the darker side, and it tells you where to put your skin tones. The problem with that's not how life works. Not every time, every mood, every situation, your skin is always on the right exposure. When you want to create a dramatic dark mood, your waveform shouldn't look like this. Your waveform should look like this. So when the whole image is dark, should feel dark, you expose it dark. Also the skin. It's a part what a lot of people do wrong. So, now things wrong in the filmmaking industry, but they look at the footage and they practically did everything right, but somehow it doesn't feel right. And the reason for it is the exposure that choose at the end of the day, because people are often scared of darkness, but the most cool things are pretty dark. This is another scene from a commercial, and as you can see here again, hell is this shot dark. We expose for the windows. You can see all these windows are really dark. The whole room very underexposed. A lot of black clipping, I would say also. But do you think this shot looks bad? No, it fits the mood, because we have this nice warm particle in the center, the TV also in the center. So our view is totally directed to this point, because that's the most interesting and bright part of the image. Technical, probably this would be the brightest part, but I would probably put this a bit more down with a power mask. But this is the light or the window they used to give them a little bit of an edge light, so that they're totally dark and they're separating themselves a little bit more. And probably this window was very bright for color grading, but I think it still looks cool, works great, and that's everything you have to do in the shot, because you positioned everything so nicely. They looked for leading lines. As you can see, these windows help us focus our view on the center. Also, that we have bright windows, and then when our actor starts, the background became dark, and they have this nice edge, so they're separating themselves from the dark background just with this hard light from the side. Also, when you're lighting wider shots, always use more light, more contrasty. You don't have to, even though you're hitting skin, you don't have to put diffusion in between, because the shot is so wide, you create much more depth with using harder lights. And then when you're going in for the close-up, then you're throwing in the diffusion and getting this creamy light on their faces. This is also a shot where I show you very often, because everyone is doing it. When you're establishing a room or showing something in a room, use the door for an entrance, because now, as you can see, we are focusing our view very much on her, because this is pretty dark and this is pretty bright, and people tend to look at the brightest part of the image. And easiest thing to do, because in a shot like this you do nothing, just put the camera, expose for this room. You have probably to black out a little bit behind the camera to get this exposure down. This effect only works when you get the walls dark. Not only just put your camera on the outside and hope that it looks cool. No, you actually have to make them a lot darker, because we're working in layers. Always, cinematographers always do dark, bright, dark, bright, dark, bright. And the more dark, bright you have, the more three-dimensional becomes your scenery. So if you enjoyed this video, check out the description for more content. My name is Marco Bagnoli, and I'll see you next time.